Well, I'm still really what you would call a classical working artist. I'm still working in clay. Clay is still my favorite medium, and I'm very much a clay person. That in the sense that I let the medium of clay very much speak also in my sculptures. The two pieces that you have, for instance, here in the park, number 25 and number 26 bronzes, were originally terracotta models. So my first ones were always terracotta, in which I, at the same time, make the figure express the emotion, what I want to express in this figure, but let the medium of the clay, this sort of fragile medium, which I think is excellent for reproducing actually what I want to put in the sculpture. It gives this ephemeral side of our existence. I let that speak in the, so it's a sculpture, it's a human figure, but at the same time for me it's being back reduced to the medium of clay. So I work in clay and I build them up hollow, which is sort of a very complicated way of making a sculpture, but I think it's the only way I do it, because I don't like working with an armature and then later on making a mold and then making a terracotta. So my terracottas are actually built up hollow from the start. So, which is a slow work, and I think there are not many artists who make them that scale in terracotta. And that's how these, for instance, these originals of these two pieces came about. So I built them up slowly, layer by layer, and get the form. And then I do a process of firing, and the clay is dry, which compromises several firings. And they're treated. When you see in the terracottas, there's often also color treated. These are all natural oxides and other colors of clay that I use, and I get to this. This was originally, most of my work was like that in terracotta. Then I started producing them in bronze, and they came basically from making a mold on the terracotta, and your pieces are reproductions of this terracotta. Now I must say I've become very much a metal person too. I've done a lot of bronzes. I have been very fortunate to find excellent foundry where they have, make beautiful patinas. And I work often now also in cast iron, which lately has become a medium I use more and more, and which brings me also again a little bit back to the terracotta. In the cast iron again, I have this natural oxidation, and I get also, it expresses very well the way I want to use the clay. And then, so, no, but I'm very happy actually with my bronze results, and especially also my cast iron results. In the beginning, I was, when I started in sculpture, I did a lot of portraits of people, and I worked after a model. And then I noticed people were asking me more and more to do portraits, and I didn't really want to get into this more. So I sort of slowed that part of my work down and wanted to work completely without the model and express more about what's preoccupying me, what I notice in people, what strikes me sometimes in situations, and that's what I wanted to give expression to. So the way it was done, whether it was anatomically just or whether the figure was resembling, didn't make any, had no more importance. So I just make him out of my head. All of the figures since then are made like that. And I suppose the way the head comes out is this just pure intuition. They become my figures because that's the way I see them, that's the way I feel it, and so they look sort of like they're all brothers or sisters or whatever, but they all look more or less the same, but that's because I don't work with a model. For me, they're just, it's a human being to me. I've automatically from the beginning, intuitively, without thinking about it, they came out that way. And it's only later on that people started to ask me about it, think, yeah, but maybe there's a point, but I just made, a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't really go much into whether it was female. What I wanted to express had nothing to do with either being male or female. It's a secondary role, I can really say. It's not, I enjoy drawing, and I find it sometimes nice next to the sculpture, especially because sculpture could sometimes be a little slower, and I think, and drawing is very direct, and I just enjoy drawing and find sometimes I have too little time for the drawing. And so sometimes I take myself also when I see in between my travels from Italy, Brussels, Italy, that I have too little time to start on a new sculpture, because when I go back to Italy it'll just dry in my studio. The clay will be drying, it will be eternally, I have to keep things wet, and so it's a good period. I will have 3 weeks or 2-3 weeks, and then I like to just spend that on drawing. The thing I think I must have always liked, I always enjoyed drawing and doing things with my hands, you know, just playing. You know, as a child, I remember it was me playing mostly in the sandbox. You know, just so I guess I always sort of enjoyed the arts, and I did study dentistry. So I did go first to college, and then I had my children. And when my children were little and my husband was traveling a lot, so I couldn't actually pursue my career or do it. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do, which is basically working in sculpture. So I started to do sculpture in my kitchen, then my basement, then the garage. And as my children grew, so grew my sculpture.
Right.
So, and then I went to La Cambre, which is one of the major art schools in Belgium, and I did this at a later age, and by the time the children got bigger, my career had taken off, you know, so it just, even though I did not necessarily wanted to make a career out of it, it sort of happened. And I never regret it. I enjoy it every day. I'm Dutch.
You're Dutch.
I'm very Dutch. And I must say, I think I felt never, you know, I was Dutch coming to the United States when I studied here at the age of 18. And it was normal because at that moment, you know, I hadn't spoken much English. Dutch was my basic and only language. But I think the more you live, the more I live in other countries, also in Italy very long, I noticed that I have really kept my Dutch nationality because I still feel very much Dutch, I must say.